Good evening. Welcome to the QCIS channel. On this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. My name is Leon Jones, and today I got a good one for you. And it deals with STEM. But one thing that individuals don't understand when they apply to STEM programs is accreditation. Now, accreditation is a standard that each program must meet, and it is costly. Now, you have two types of accreditation. The one I'm going to talk about is called ABET, ABET, but there's ATME. That's for individuals who are more on the applied engineering and the technology management side. Now, the issue with ATME is you cannot take the FE or PE examinations. Now, of course, with ABET, you have different areas of accreditation. So ABET is a little bit bigger than ATME. Now, of course, ATME is out of Michigan and ABET is out of Baltimore. Now, when we deal with ABET, ABET stands for the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. Now, generally, you have 4 sub-branches of ABET when it comes to STEM. And you basically find those 4 branches of accreditation when you deal with, let's say, computer science and IT, engineering technology, natural science, and of course, engineering. Now, let me share my screen and we're going to get right into it. Now, here's a PowerPoint that I found about the ABET accreditation. Of course, that's me, Leon E. Jones Jr. And when we deal with the importance of accreditation, in the United States, accreditation is used to assure quality in educational institutions and programs. Now, one must understand that accreditation is a voluntary, non-government process of peer review. Basically, it requires an educational institution or program to meet certain defined standards or criteria. So, accreditation is sometimes confused with certification. So, what I'm telling you, in general, institutions and programs are accredited and individuals are certified. That's where you can break the complication between accreditation and certification. Now, the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, known as ABET, is a professional accrediting agency that accredits programs, not institutions. Again, the programs within the institutions are accredited. Now, ABET is known as programmatic accreditation. Now, you do have HLC, Higher Learning Commission. That is an accreditation for your institution. And then you have the Mid-Atlantic and the Western. Those are what we call regional accreditations. And you have your national accreditations. Those are institutional accreditations. What I am going to talk about, again, is a programmatic accreditation. Now, one must understand that accreditation serves to notify parents and prospective students that a program has met professional standards. Faculty, deans, and administrators of a program's strengths and weaknesses and of ways to improve the program. Also, employers that graduates are prepared to begin professional practices. Also, taxpayers that their funds are spent well, and that the public that graduates, they're aware of public health and safety considerations. Now, as an engineer myself, one must ask, why do we care about ABET accreditation? Now, of course, ABET audits engineering and engineering technology programs on a regular basis to assure that the program maintains high standards. Now, in some countries, having an engineering degree from an ABET accredited engineering program is required to become a registered professional engineer. And one of the countries is the United States of America. Now, for some jobs and companies, having an engineering degree from an ABET accredited engineering program is required just to be considered for employment. Now, why is ABET accreditation important? And as I break it down, one must understand that if you're going to take any professional certifications, like the engineering and training or the fundamentals of engineering examination, for the most part, now there are certain criteria, but I'm going to go overall in general. The state's testing boards require that each degree that is received from an institution, particularly if it's in engineering or engineering technology, must be accredited by ABET. Now, getting back to why ABET accreditation is important. Well, the accreditation criteria help to design and define what your degree should provide you. So the design of your degree is basically under the standards of ABET. It's the accreditation criteria help to define what your degree should provide you. Now, the accreditation criteria help to define what you may market yourself as. Also, the accreditation process helps your department to continually analyze and approve its courses and curriculum. The accreditation process requires that your voice be heard in evaluating the program. And to apply for a position, most companies require graduation from an ABET accredited program. Now, what if your program is not accredited? Now, there is a program out there right now, Liberty University. They just started a Bachelor of Science online in civil engineering. Now, you know, when they put the courses out, it's not going to be accredited. Now, what happens is that they have to graduate their first class, which is in 4 years, because basically every 4 years, every school is up for review to maintain their ABET accreditation. Now, once the first 4 years has gone by, and that's the first graduating class, then the institution can be reviewed by ABET so their curriculum can be ABET accredited. Now, what happens to those students when they graduate? Well, basically, ABET retros all the way back to the first year of the beginning or establishment of the program. Example, Indiana State, they had automation engineering that wasn't accredited, civil engineering technology wasn't accredited, mechanical engineering technology, electronics engineering technology, they're all accredited. And it's very important that you understand accrediting. ABET is a big accreditation. Also, there are cons to accreditation: the formal process, the cost, and the time. Now, what is ABET? Again, ABET is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. It was formed in 1932. ABET is headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, again, ABET is an organization, it's a private organization, and it's responsible for monitoring, evaluating, and certifying the quality of engineering, engineering technology, computing, and applied science, which is now called natural science education in the United States. It's a federation of 31 professional and technical societies representing over 1.8 million practicing professionals in these fields. Now, some of the societies are the American Society of Engineering Educations. Now, of course, this is the one that actually helps a new engineering program meet ABET accreditation. Example, Indiana State, they just got a Bachelor of Science in Engineering program, and ASEE was the one. They had a board, and they're basically upgrading the courses to make sure that they meet the requirements to be evaluated by ABET. And I believe that curriculum is now accredited by ABET. Again, they utilize general engineering and engineering physics. Then you have ASME, the American Society of Mechanical Engineering. It's a mechanical engineering organization. And you also have ASCE, which is a civil engineering organization. It stands for the American Society of Civil Engineering. My next video, I'm going to cover engineering societies, because if you're a student in engineering, it is your advantage to join one of these societies. And if you have a business, be part of one of the societies as well. Then you have IEEE. That's the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. It's for anybody who wants to go into electrical and computer engineering. Then you have BMES, which is the Biomedical Engineering Society. All right, here I'm going to break it down for you, the ABET organization. Now, I've made some corrections to this PowerPoint. Now, the big one is EAC. EAC is the Engineering Accrediting Commission. So all of your engineering programs, and there are 1,787 programs at 364 schools. They are accredited by ABET, but under the umbrella of EAC, known as the Engineering Accreditation Commission. Then we move over to ETAC. Now, it used to be known as TAC, but it's now ETAC. ETAC stands for the Engineering Technology Accreditation Commission. There are 670 programs at 226 schools. This is for all of your engineering technology programs. Now, it's very synonymous when it comes to EAC and ETAC, because under both of those programs and all the states, you can take the FE and PE exam if you have come from a curriculum that has been accredited by ABET under the umbrella of EAC. Now, 38, almost 40 states out of 50 allow you to take the FE and PE under ETAC, which is the Engineering Technology Accreditation Commission. Then there's another one. It used to be known as ASAC. They just changed the name a few years ago. In fact, construction management is now under this program. ANSEC is the applied science, used to be the Applied Science Accreditation Commission. That's when it was called ASAC. That's ASAC. Well, they decided to make the change under that umbrella organization 3 to 4 years ago, and now it's ANSEC, which stands for the Applied Natural Science Accreditation Commission. Now, what programs are under that umbrella? Construction management. You may also have some surveying technology programs. I know Cincinnati State, they've already gone through the ANSEC review process. So any moment now, they could be accredited by ANSEC of ABET. I know there's another surveying program at the University of Akron, just to give you a few examples. And then you have CAC, Computer or Computing Accrediting Commission. CAC stands for Computing Accrediting or Computing Accreditation Commission. Again, CAC is under ABET as Computing Accreditation Commission. Now, what programs are under that umbrella? Computer science, IT, and you have 261 programs at 220 schools. Now, going back to ANSEC, ANSEC is relatively new. So you basically have 71 programs at 54 schools. Now, if you want to know more about ABET, I have the websites that you can click on. You can go back and watch this video to find out all the information you need to get more in depth about ABET. Now, the ABET philosophy, each institution and program basically define their own mission and objectives to meet the needs of their constituents. Philosophy also emphasizes outcomes that prepare students from the program for entry into professional practice. The philosophy also tells you that programs must demonstrate how their criteria and educational objectives are being met. Also, the programs must design processes leading to continuous program improvement. And programmatic diversity is the strength of engineering education for the United States. So, ABET accredits programs. It does not certify individuals. Now, what certifies individuals? If you pass the FE and PE, that certifies individuals. Now, the outcomes, well, all abilities that students should possess by the time they graduate. Also, what graduates are expected to achieve within a few years, let's say 3 to 5 years after graduation. Objectives versus outcomes. So we have our PEOs, and they're broad statements that describe the accomplishments that the program is preparing its graduates to achieve. Again, I said 3 to 5 years. Then you have your outcomes, which are basically your narrower statements that describe what students are expected to know and be able to do by the time of graduation. So these relate to the skills, knowledge, and behaviors that students acquire in their matriculation through the program at graduation. Current EAC criteria. This is for your engineering curriculums. Students, PEOs, that's your program educational objectives, student outcomes, continuous improvements, curriculum, faculty, facilities, and institution or institutional support. Criterion 1, students. Institutions must evaluate, advise, and monitor students. Institutions must have policies for acceptance of transfer students and validation of transfer courses. Institutions must have procedures to assure all students meet all curriculum requirements for graduation. Criteria 2, program educational objectives. Each program must have detailed published educational objectives. Process based on needs of constituencies in which objectives are determined and periodically evaluated. Also, the PEO, which is the program educational objective, tells you that a curriculum and process that assure achievement of the objectives. There also must be a system of ongoing evaluations that really demonstrate achievement of the objectives. And to top it all off, you must use an evaluation. An evaluation deals with having results to improve the effectiveness of the program. Criteria 3, programs must demonstrate their graduates have come from A to K plus any additional outcomes that may be articulated by the program. Programs must have an assessment process with documented results. Must be evidence that the outcomes are being measured. Evidence that the results of the assessment process are applied to the further development and improvement of the program. Continuous improvement, criterion 4. And it tells you that the program must regularly use appropriate documented processes for assessing and evaluating the extent to which the student outcomes are being attained. And you have the results of these evaluations. They must be systematically utilized as input for the continuous improvement of the program. And finally, other available information may also be used to assist in the continuous improvement of the program. Very important. Other available information may also be used to assist in the continuous improvement of the program. Textbooks, magazines, let's say Scientific American. And when we deal with textbooks, Hibbler's, structural analysis, other information, the plans and specifications. Criterion 5, important, the curriculum. You need to know what your curriculum is. And the curriculum is to prepare students for professional practice through a curriculum culminating in a major design experience. And that's based on knowledge, skills from earlier work. That's incorporating engineering standards and multiple realistic constraints. And let me explain that to you. When you have an engineer program or an engineering technology program, the first 2 years, it's basically theoretical, and it deals with your general electives, your math, and your science. Now, for engineering technology, you're going to have a little bit more labs since the engineering is more applied than theoretical. But basically, you have to understand the math before you can go into your junior and senior courses, which they're your major courses, and they emphasize more in design than the first 2 years. And the next line is going to tell you, you're going to have 2 semesters, 32 hours of math and basic sciences. Those are your first 2 years. And then 3 semesters of engineering topics, your last 2 years. And then there's a general education component. And then the GE component, that's your philosophy, your humanities, your English. They just want to give you some diversity, make your degree well-rounded, because when you get out in the world, although you'll be doing design work, you're going to meet people from other departments who are not engineers, like human resources, accounting. So you have to know how to communicate with other departments. And that's the same way if you have your own business. Criterion 6, faculty. Very important. Sufficient number and competency to cover all curriculum. Sufficient in number to accommodate adequate levels of student-faculty interaction. Important. Sufficient in number to accommodate adequate levels of student-faculty interaction, advising and counseling, service, professional development, and interactions with industrial and professional practitioners and employers. You also have to ensure proper guidance of the program and its evaluation, development, and improvement. Criterion 7, facilities. This is important if you're going to establish a curriculum because you have to have the classrooms, the laboratories. The associated equipment must be adequate to accomplish program objectives and provide an atmosphere conducive to learning. These are what you call your labs. Also, provide opportunities to learn the use of modern engineering tools, your computer, your software, infrastructure to support scholarly activities of the students and faculty, and the educational objectives of the program. Criterion 8, institutional support. Well, under institutional support, you're going to find financial resources and constructive leadership. They must be adequate to assure quality and continuity of the program. Again, institutional support, financial services, and constructive leadership must be adequate to assure quality and continuity of the program. So you want your program to continually improve. So you need constructive leadership to give you that constructive feedback. And you also must attract, retain, and provide for professional development of a well-qualified faculty. Also must have a resource to acquire, maintain, and operate equipment and facilities. Must have adequate support personnel, and of course, support of improvement efforts, because programs do change based on technology. Now, how does a degree program get accredited? And I'm going to give you the answers right now. Well, you have a panel of ABET experts. What they do, they evaluate the program, courses, curriculum, people, and facilities. The degree must meet general criteria that apply to all engineering degrees. The program must also meet program criteria, which are specific to BME engineering. So if you're going into biomedical engineering, your program must meet the biomedical engineering standards. Now, the department must demonstrate that it uses a continual process of evaluating the courses and curriculum, and they must make changes when needed. The department must even show that it examines and it improves its own evaluation process. Now, again, if you want to know more of the step-by-step, I actually have the link. You click on the link, and it'll tell you the step-by-step of how programs get accredited. What I'm doing is giving you an overview of what ABET is and how the process works. Now we have objectives versus outcomes. Now, PEOs, which are program educational objectives, are broad statements that describe the career and professional accomplishments that the program is preparing its graduates to achieve. It's generally 3 to 5 years after graduation. And when we deal with the program outcomes, they're basically statements that are narrower than the PEOs, which are your program educational objectives. Now, your program outcomes, they describe what students are expected to know and be able to do by the time of graduation. So when we deal with program outcomes, they relate to skills, knowledge, and behaviors that students acquire in their matriculation to the program, and that's at graduation. Student outcomes. an ability to apply knowledge of mathematics, science, and engineering, an ability to design and conduct experiments, as well as to analyze and interpret data, the ability to design a system, component, or process that is going to meet desired needs within realistic constraints such as economic, environmental, social, political, ethical, health and safety, something that's sustainable and that's good for manufacturing or manufacturability. Also, an ability to function on multidisciplinary teams, an ability to identify, formulate, and solve engineering problems, an understanding of professional and ethical responsibility, an ability to communicate effectively, the broad education necessary to understand the impact of engineering solutions in a global, economic, environmental, and societal context. There's also a recognition of the need for and an ability to engage in life learning. Also, you must have a knowledge of contemporary issues and an ability to use the techniques, skills, and modern engineering tools necessary for engineering practices. And finally, I always say you can join ABET. Understand what they do. ABET is always looking for help. And again, when it comes to an engineering technology program, a computer science program, a natural science program, you're going to go with ABET. Now, of course, it's a costly process, but you must have students ready to conduct business in the real world. And when you have programs that are accredited, it actually sets a standard that every university is uniform. Now, you can have the same curriculum, but offer courses that are similar. However, if your first 2 years have your math and science, that's what they look at most. Like, I'll give you an example of some credits or classes you have to take. Well, under an engineering program, everything is calculus based. You may have 2 semesters of university physics. You're going to have 3 semesters of calculus and differential equations. You may have to take, you're going to have to take statistics. You're going to have to take linear algebra. You're going to have to take chemistry. And in some cases, you have to take biology. But everything is calculus based. Now, in terms of engineering technology, it's algebra based, but you can take calculus based sciences. And I would prefer, if you're going for engineering technology, it would be an advantage to take all of the math and science that engineers take. Why? Because some states do not allow individuals who have a degree, although it is accredited by ABET in engineering technology, to sit for the FE or PE examination. So if you show the board that you've taken the same math and science that all engineers take, like here in Indiana is one state that does not allow individuals who have degrees in engineering and engineering technology. Well, they're going to know now after they see this video, because you can. You have to fill out what they call a supplemental form, and you have to send in your transcripts that you've taken university physics and calculus 1, 2, and 3, differential equations. And you can sit down and you can become an engineer just like everybody who majored in engineering. But I hope this helps, because when you go through a program, you need to understand what ABET really is. So tell me what you think. And that concludes this topic on ABET accreditation. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some social and political content, Check out my main channel, the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show, also on YouTube. Now, if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show or the QCIS channel on YouTube, you can check both of those channels out on Twitter. Most likely, if you find them on YouTube, you're going to find them on Twitter, because after I record videos, I do post them on Twitter. Now, for the QCIS channel, I take it one step further. Since it is an educational channel, you can also find my videos from the QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And once again, thank you for listening to this information on ABET Accreditation from the QCIS channel. On this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening.